Hello everyone and welcome to this fly tying video. Today we're going to tie a salmon fly on a tube, and this one is called the Fire Bullet. What I have here is a tube needle, and this one is from Pro Sport Fisher, is their Pro Flexi needle. This one is the size small, and on that I've put a micro tube. And this is this tube with a stop here at the end and a notch to hold the Hookguide. And then I'm going to put on a drop weight, and this is just a weight in the shape of a drop. This one is in the color copper, and it's going to give the fly both weight and build up the shape of the body. I will quickly go through all the materials that you need for this fly. There are quite a lot, so I will try to get done with it quite quickly. So the first thing we're going to need is some dubbing. This is the SSS Glitz. This one is in the color Diamond Pearl, and this is going to build up the first layer of dubbing, or the first little dubbing ball here right in front of the weight. Then going on, I'm going to use some Angora goat, and this is a really nice seal's fur substitute. And these are these long fibers, natural fibers, quite translucent. This one is in fluo fire orange, and this is going to give these little longer fibers sticking out over the pearl and also fluorescent. Moving on just a little bit further, I'm then going to put in a hackle, and this one is a coq de leon. This one is a medium Pardo, and this is a cape, and these are these really nice feathers with long stiff fibers. It's going to build up a nice color here to hold the wing. And for the wing, this is going to be two different colors of marble fox. The first one is a yellow and the other one is an orange, and these colors you can mix up and choose any color that you like. Just like to have a little bit lighter first color and then going up darker and darker as I go, like a little fish or something with a little lighter belly and a darker back. In front of the wing, I'm then going with two different hackles. The first one is some Mallard flank, and this one is in the color burnt orange. You can also use some guinea feathers. These ones I'm going to show a little different technique to use these with a dubbing loop instead of just tying it in by the feather and then hackling the stem, because this can be a little bit difficult with these kind of feathers. Then in between the two hackles here in front, I'm going to go with some jungle cock. This one is a substitute from Pro Sport Fisher as well, and this one is their jungle cock HD in the color natural, and this one is in the size medium. And then the last material that's going to go in is the last hackle, and this is some schlappen. You could also use any other kind of soft hackle. If you want, you can use a hen cape or any other hackle with a quite long fibers and quite webby as well. You want to have a little bit of movement and just a little bit softer here in front. You could also use a micro Ostrich Herl if you have access to that. And then last but not least, it's the cone. It's going to go in front, and this is then going to push back all the materials, or not really push back, but hold the materials in between the cone and this weight here. So it's going to encapsulate the materials and make this really secure. And this is an ultrasonic disc, I think it's called. It's this metallic disc with holes in it, so it's going to give a little different vibration under the water. The water is going to be pushed out a little bit different, giving a lot of movement and hopefully attract a lot of fish. For the thread, I'm using a Nanosilk from Samplify. This one is the 50 denier in white, and I'm going to start half a centimeter in front of this weight, going back, cut off the excess. And here what I like to do is to come in with just a little bit of super glue. This one is the Loctite with a brush, really easy to apply. And then in the wet glue I'm going to build up a little ramp right up to this weight, so that way it's not going to move anywhere. And make sure you get not such a steep ramp, but quite flat like this. This way it's going to hold this really nicely and your thread is not going to move forward. Then the first material, SSS Glitz. This is a dubbing from Mikael Flodin. It's these really nice long fibers, really easy to dub, really easy to build up a lot of bulk or imitate a lot of bulk with this. The idea with dubbing is always to brush it out, so it's always better to get a little bit more than a little bit less, and then we're going to brush this out, giving this fly a really translucent and a little bit longer appearance. Next, the second dubbing, and this is this Angora goat in this Fluofire orange, and this is going to be like a hotspot here in between, and these can be a little bit difficult to dub on. This time it worked, but sometimes you get these fibers to just unwind constantly, and you'll just have to try it a few times till you get it right. And this I'm also going to brush out, and you can see here the quite long fibers, they're extending over this weight and quite a lot longer. Now it's time for the hackle, and I've chosen a really nice Coq de Lion feather, and I'm going to take away a little bit of the fibers and tying this in towards the back. Make it right up to the dubbing, and just a few turns to secure this really well. Cut off the stem, and now we're going to hackle this towards the front, or right in front of the dubbing, and for every turn just pull the fibers back. Try to make this quite compact, and then about 3 turns is enough. Tie it off. We can then cut off the stem, pull everything back, make sure to get a few wraps right in here, not over but just in front, and there we go. And this we're going to brush it in and mix it with the dubbing. It's going to get just a little bit softer, but we want to have this kind of stiffness here just to hold the wing a little better. And now for the wing, this is some marble fox, and I'm first going with the lighter color. This is some yellow. I'm taking about maybe half a pencil or something like that, and these hairs have a lot of guard hairs in it, or this fur, so I'm going to just take this away. And then a nice little tool to have is some kind of brush, and I'm just going to brush these hairs. And you can see it's got a whole lot of movement. I'm just going to brush the butt ends as well to get away all the shortest fibers. And now we're going to apply this and make it extend about double the length of the body. And this one I want to have it quite widespread like this. So push it just a little bit around, hold it with the left hand, get in a few quite heavy turns. And there we go, there's the first wing. Now I'm taking the orange one, and this I want a little bit less, and With this one we're also going to use the guard hairs to get some length and some finer fibers sticking out right to the end. So here it's selected and cut off just a little smaller bunch than the previous one. And this time as well I'm going in with the little brush to get the best or the most out of these hairs. Then I'm going to tie this in, but this time I want to have it right in the middle, a little bit higher, not so widespread, and a little bit longer as well. I want to have a nice taper on the fly. So right in the middle, tie it in a few times. Now you can make sure that your wing is how you want it. And if you feel the wing, or just make like this, you can feel that it's going to get less and less fiber as you go towards the end, and at the very tip there will only be a few left. And this is exactly what we want. We want to have a bulky head and then a nice taper going towards the back. Next up is material that I forgot to mention at the beginning, and this is some Ostrich Herl, and this one is in an orange color. I'm going to take 2 fibers off, and these usually have a natural curve to them, and I want the curve to go in or follow the wing. So I'm going to tie one in on my side, just a little bit on the top, and then one on the other, and the length for these should be about the length of the whole wing. So tie this in, make sure that they are right here where you want them. Then I'm going to take a razor blade. You can also cut all this off with your scissors. I just think, or it's a little bit easier to get a nice clean cut, or not easier, but with the razor blade you can get really close in to the thread and cut this away. With the scissors you cannot cut this close, but with the razor blade you have to be quite careful to not cut away any materials that you want to have on your fly, or cut right through the tube. There we go, almost done. And get all this excess material away. And here you can see that we're left with just a tiny amount of fibers sticking out, or hairs sticking out on this side. To secure this, I'm going to go in with just a little bit of glue. And here this little brush comes in really handy. And once the glue is dried, it should only take a few seconds. We're then going to put in the first hackle, and this is some Mallard barred flank, and this one is in the color burnt orange. And if you find a really nice feather that's the right length and with a quite thin stem, you can tie it in just like any soft hackle by the tip, and then just fold the fibers back. But it's really difficult to find the ones with the really thin stems and the long nice fibers. Usually they have one or the other. So what I'm going to do is to use a little different technique, and this is using the Mark Petitjean magic tool. So what I have here is the table of the magic tool, and I'm going to prep my feather like a CDC feather. So I'm just going to put all the fibers at 90 degrees from the stem, and then I'm going to push it right through the table. And what you end up with is something like this. and this table here is the small one. This works really well for this size of fly. So width of the small table in the magic tool is going to be enough for this kind of fly. I've already cut away the both ends, and now I'm going to grab these fibers with one of these clamps or clips, then cut off the stem. Now this is the most difficult part of this fly in my opinion. I'm going to take the dubbing twister from Loon, and here I'm going to make a dubbing loop about 10 centimeters or so, to get it around this little hook, then up, do a few turns, and then it's really imperative that you close the loop so you get 2 turns around, and then continue, and then I'm going to go down onto the bare tube, and now holding this loop open I'm going to insert these prepped Mallard flank feathers. And then spinning the dubbing twister, we're going to lock all these fibers in, and then make sure to spin this up really well. You can take your little brush and come in and separate these fibers just a little bit. They tend to stick quite well together. And spin it up once more. And once you feel that these are not going anywhere, you can stop. And now we're going to go right up here in front of the wing, and for each turn I'm going to pull the fibers back like any soft hackle. And this maybe seems a little bit messy right now, but this is going to be covered by the other materials, so you don't have to worry too much. And if you're not happy, you can always go back. And here I'm going to redo this turn. There we go. And I'm pulling all the fibers back. Go down to the bare tube as well, and then tie this off and cut away this little piece. And there we have this first hackle, and then I'm going to add a second one, but first some eyes, or jungle cock, but I think they look like eyes, so I'm just going to take and cut away 2 of these. And then I'm first going with one on my side, and I want this to extend right back to the end of this little stop here, right here. So one on my side, and then I'm going to tie the second one in. And then what I usually do is to align these up with the ends here, but you can also just align them right from top. There we go. A few turns to secure these, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. Come in with your scissors and cut this away, and then the second one right there. And now it's time for the last hackle, and this one is some schlappen in black. This one will do, and this one we're going to tie in like a soft hackle, so by the tip. Pull all the other fibers back and tie this in on my side, a few turns, then pull the stem back. cut off the excess. And with this one we're going to cover up all not so nice things we did before. So just double this over and make a few turns. And a last one. There we go. Tie this off. Pull it back. Cut off the excess. Now we're going to build up just a small little head, and then with the whip finish we're going to finish off this fly, and here we want to keep this head as small as possible. There we go, cut off. And there we have the actual fly done. If you would like to leave it like this, you could just put a little bit of varnish and then cut off your tube and cinch it up or burn it up. But what I'm going to do is to add a cone or a disc. This one is the Ultrasonic disc, and this metallic disc that's going to go really nicely right here over and hide every little imperfection as well. This one is in the size medium in a gun metal, I think it's called. To get this really securely onto the fly, I'm going to use some gel glue. This one is the Loctite Gel Control, and using this you can put a little bit of glue here and it's not going to soak in to the thread or your hackle, so it's going to stay right on top really nicely. And this has quite long working time, so you can calmly get your disc and push it on, and then once the glue is dry we can then finish off the fly. And I'm going to take my razor blade again, and here we have to cut the tube off just a few millimeters in front of the disc, and then we're going to burn down this end, and then with another needle I'm just going to open this up again. You can also do this with this one, just find it a little bit easier with the second one. You can see maybe how this has just rolled up right to the cone or the disc, and this is going to hold this really securely with the glue as well. And then to rig this one with a hook, you're going to need a Hookguide. These ones are in the small size and in black. So what you can do is to put this one on, get your tube on as well, and these are going to be perfectly aligned then and really easy to put together. And then you have to choose a nice hook. This one works really well, the barbed stinger from Partridge. And here I have one of these hooks tied to a little piece of leader, and usually you get your leader right through from this point and then tie your hook on. Just for demonstration purpose I have already tied this, and I'm going to insert it from the back, so you will then end up with something like this or this, and then just pull your leader and the hook is then going to go right in this little silicone guide, and it's going to hold this really nicely. You can adjust the length of it, and you can also, as you see now, I have the hook riding towards or up, and you can also just pull this out and get it the other way around. And now you have your hook riding the other way down. And this is one of the many advantages with tying with tubes. You can change the hooks really easily. You can also just tie one kind of flies and then have a whole lot of different kinds of hooks. You can have a single, a double, a triple, and if the hook gets damaged or gets dull, you can just take this away, change the hook, and then put it back together. And you don't have to change the whole fly. This one is not so expensive, but some of the salmon flies can be really expensive. So tying your flies on tubes can save you a little bit of money as well. And another really cool thing with these tubes is that you can get a quite long fly with a long body, but with a really short shanked hook. But it's placed here at the back and not right here in front. And the hook is then going to pull out once you get a fish on. And this means that the fish is only going to battle with this little short hook. And it's not going to have any leverage with this short shank. If you would have such a long hook, the fish can then bend out a little bit easier. So this is also one of these really nice things with tubes. I'm going to put this back. So there we have the fire bullet. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time, and happy tying.